won't work, and what kind of accommodations are there going to be for the wheelchairs?
Okay, but like, is that?
Yeah. I found a podium.
You know, what you see is what you have right now, and it's going to be very similar. I mean, the capacity for wheelchairs is what, 2 per car on the system, and that's where we're at right now. You know, I think we're getting very close to a full redesign of our vehicles because you know that's one way we can address capacity issues. We have what might be considered luxurious rail cars here. Everybody sits backwards. They're you know, there's not like perimeter seating. Yeah, perimeter seating can pack a whole lot more people in there. On the red line, we took out 4 seats to just create an area that can be used for a variety of different things, bicycles, baggage, you name it, mobility devices, whatever. It seems to be a great area for standing passengers also. We can put like 35 or 40 people where those 2 seats used to be. Those 2 bench seats were, so we were trading 4 seats for like 30 people. It's a very good thing. It should prove something. You know, maybe we just take all the seats out. But we're you know, we have to start addressing a lot of issues with our cars because quite simply they weren't there when we first started. You know, back in 1980 we had this cookie cutter car that had a few accommodations because everybody who rode carried a briefcase or something like that, or a bag or something they could keep on their lap. I don't know if you've noticed how many people carry stuff with them now. It's just incredible, these little rolling briefcases. And it's not like a person has one of them, they may have 2 of them. and they have a bag put on top of it. It's just incredible. And that's hurting our capacity. So,
Dan, did we get your question?
it's pretty much going to be the
Cover your question?
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, well, Steve is going to probably want to know about how we accommodate blocks of cheese on the train. Well, I'll let him ask his question.
You know, a while back, last year, there was a movement to restrict cyclists, not the cyclists per se, but the bicycles they tend to bring with them, to 2 per car, which creates an odd response because can you imagine being on the station and then having to run up and down and look for the car, you know, in the car to see which one you fit in?
Right.
In other words, it's sort of and my argument was we don't restrict other stuff. You mentioned stuff. And so we don't restrict the guy with a 300-pound block of cheese or the guy with a Christmas tree or baby carriages or kayaks or anything else other than the one thing that's a gap connector. So no one's going to get off the subway and ride their 300-pound block of cheese or their briefcase, you know, to the next bus station, the 1.5-mile gap that the bicycle can close.
Sure.
And so it's interesting to hear you talk about some of the behavioral infrastructure, if you will, or human infrastructure, because we can't do much about ventilation silos, but we can certainly affect behavior. And the one thing I notice in other transportation systems is simple design, you know, affects behavior. And now I'm realizing that you're the key guy with us creating the bike car. In other words, stripping the furniture out of 1 car per train so that anyone with something large, including even me being large, if I don't fit in the other car, I can just go into the big open car. So whether I've got a briefcase or suitcases I'm coming from the flyaway or I've got a bicycle, you know, it's what, you know, if you've seen the buses in some of ski country, they strip them so you can get in with skis and boots and things. And so what are the chances of us just getting a bike car, like the N car, the first one or the last one, so we always know which one it is?
Well, that would, you know, as an example, if you take 1 car and strip it out or do something similar, let's say you take 35% of the seats out, something. That means, like on the red line, it would be the lead car half the time and the trailing car the other half of the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's always going to be the same location of the consist, because if we're cutting cars off the line, like we do at night, then if it's at the end, that's going to mean that we're going to have to keep that one out there. It may require us to make a double car cut or an additional car add. A little bit more problematic, but I think we have to go somewhere with a car design, and you know, and maybe it's a little bit on everything. I just don't know. We can't do the Caltrain solution, which is a beautiful solution. You know, It's always the was it the trailing car northbound and the lead car southbound? Is that it?
Something.
Is that it? Something
Close
like that.
enough.
Make the car a different color, so it's easily instantly recognizable.
No, because he just explained that the cars get cut around and they get rearranged. You got three two-car sets,
Yeah.
and sometimes you cut off a train car in North Hollywood. Sometimes you cut off some there, and the reality here is you've got a problem in terms of where you're going to situate the car. Because if it's on one end and they got to go from a 6-car train to a 4-car, you have logistical problems that probably we should apply to computer science engineers here and figure out.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you know, we've often thought about putting the bike racks and the bike people on the top on the roof, like in Europe. Or
On the outside,
Asia.
Velcroed.
Right.
If we also put a bathroom in there, we'd have the operators figuring out which car, and they'd never lose that one. And then we could solve that other problem. And if we could get them to hold their breath, we could get through the ventilation tunnel. See, I'm solving problems for you.
There you are. There you are. Yeah, you know, the holding breath thing is kind of interesting. Maybe we ought to pursue that one.
Yeah.
Next question, John.
Two quick questions that are related to each other. What is the latest thinking on the terminus, if it's going to be Westwood, the Veterans office, or somewhere in there? What is the latest thinking about that? And what is the financial feasibility of extending the subway underneath the Sepulveda pass to Van Nuys?
Well, first, I'll take the first one because the second one is a Bart Reed question, if I ever heard. Money, you know, I'm just spending money here. I'm not printing it. Well, it's like I'm going to tell you I'm not printing it. I really hope that VA is the terminal for this thing. It makes such a difference if you just get to the west side of the freeway. It opens up a whole new world. There's for park and ride and for access to the west side folks. It allows us to develop a really good terminal there with more property than what we would have over on the Westwood side.
Do you approach the Veterans Affairs office? Or
it would be really close. The drawings I've seen are really close right now. Let's say it happens to get out into Santa Monica someday. Well, there's never going to be a need to run all of our trains to Santa Monica. So the thinking at Veteran is to make that thing a terminal, a really robust terminal, so we can affect short lines there. So, you know, I hope everything I hear is pretty optimistic about us getting up there. We'll have to see how it plays out. It's a long ways to go.
I'll take a step then.
Mr. Moneyman.
All right, yeah, we'll keep peeling off the big bills here. Seriously, there are some issues with community, and as it goes through the environmental steps, as always, there's always one side rubbing, the other side rubbing. At one point, people were going crazy because they thought the subway would go underneath all the condo buildings and the condo corridor there, and there's always been some issue somewhere. You know, eventually Beverly Hills came around and wants the subway and have stations that they want. And so the issue is, you know, 5 or 10 years down the line, if we're still debating theoretically, the Veterans makes a lot of sense just because it's got a lot of catchment and criteria. What happens with the community and the politics, that's sometimes the nonprofits and the community advocates need to help make some sense to pave the way for the operational people. Back to your other question about subways, did you want to know about pricing or?
Well, is it in the financial plan to
Well,
extend
okay,
that?
I can answer the question. Roughly in Measure R, there was $1 billion for the 405 corridor. It was put in there because nobody really knew what was wanted between the San Fernando Valley and West Side. I get horrified when I see busways because, you know, just can imagine the busway finds some sort of catchment up down. It doesn't catch up and down Van Nuys Boulevard. It's got some sort of freeway catchment. You know, it's just, you're creating something that's just as horrible as the Harbor Transitway, which for many years only had 3,000 riders a day. So, you know, you're spending $1 billion on a corridor for 3,000 riders a day. And for years, it was just kind of hidden away in the Metro closet. Nobody knew the Harbor Transitway was there. And then the Blue Line was next to it with 75 to 90,000 riders a day. So, got those issues.